How are we? It's Ali here. We're going to do a little market commentary. We're going to have a look at the main indices, some of the main currency pairs, and see what's going on. And then we'll finish off just with a little bit of a quick trade review and looking at the trades that I'm currently in. Now, normally I do this on a Sunday, but I was out and about yesterday, so I'm bringing you this quite early on a Monday morning. So let's get straight into it. Right, we're going to start with the S&P. Now, the S&P's been relatively kind to me over the last couple of weeks. We've had a nice width of the trend trade down here. That was the second half of this. And then I had a half stake reversal trade in this area here when we came up and retested those highs. You can see that there. So the S&P has actually been the main breadwinner for the last couple of weeks. So if we go and have a look in a little bit more detail, let's go up to the weekly chart and see what that's showing us. So the weekly chart, you can see, this is the futures chart you can see here. So we had a retest of the previous highs. We actually nicked slightly higher. If you compare that to the NASDAQ actually went that little bit higher and then we came down. If we look at the candle patterns here, nothing major up here on the weekly chart. A little bit of indecision when we came up to the prior highs. But what we've had is we've had a pullback, and we've had a pullback down to the 21 moving average. Now on Instagram, it's interesting when we got down here, especially when we got slightly below that level, and I'll just go and show you on the daily, we had all sorts of people saying, oh, we're below the weekly 50, is this the big short, is this the short the Dow, all sorts of stuff going on. And my response to that, and I actually posted that up on Instagram, was, well, we need to be a little bit careful here, because all we've got is a big downward candle there. It's a close below the 50. But for me, on the long-term picture, if we're talking about a big short, we're talking about a big move down, then what you're seeing on the daily chart is not necessarily going to be the most relevant scenario. So what you can see here, we hadn't even taken out the lows from back here in March. And we came in nicely down to MS2 pivot here. And actually, ironically, people are talking about a short or getting ready for a short. I'd actually had a short, and where they were talking about taking a short, I was actually getting out because we were getting to an area where it was a logical exit point. You had that area there you can see with the pivot. And if I go up to the weekly chart, and then if we go up to the monthly chart and have a little look at the monthly chart, you've really just got to look at the pattern of how the S&P is behaving, and it's a very similar pattern on the Dow. Not quite the same, but a similar type of pattern that you can see there on the Dow. Is for me, for any long-term short position, bearing in mind if you're classifying long-term as 6 months, a year, is we've got to see some sort of price action that not just tests the weekly 50, but actually comes down and possibly retests the weekly 50 or gives us a close below, a pull back up, because very often in that scenario you'll get the market move back up and then it will come back down. So either a close below and then a break of those lows, but one simple test of the 50 in that scenario is not really enough. And if you look at it in relative terms, so for me, I like to look at it in stages. I've talked about this before. So for me, the first thing I'll do is I might take an aggressive reversal trade up here, which you've just seen. So I've gone long, come into the resistance, got out the trade, logical reversal trade based on our strategy criteria, trade that. I'm out of that, or I'm taking profit at the daily 50, first port of call, and then I'm getting out at my next level, which is essentially the weekly 50. But as yet, so weekly 21. But as yet, we haven't even had a test of the weekly 50. So this was that last big move down we saw at the end of the year, that sell-off, where we essentially got the monthly 50. So for me, I'm looking at it in stages. So I might be taking shorts, and this was something that I got asked a couple of weeks ago. You say, how can you be taking a short but not have an overall bearish view? Well, the reason is my strategy is over a certain criteria, over a certain time frame. So I might be taking a swing short, but I haven't gotten a long-term bearish view yet, but the shorting opportunity is there. And the reason I'm not holding that short position for a long period of time is because I don't have that bearish view. And that's especially true if you're going against the trend. So in this scenario, when I'm taking that second short, I'll just go back to the daily. So the first short that I took, first long, I should say, that I took was here. So we were long off the candle that broke the high of the candle of the 28th. So that I'm taking the last move up to these highs. Now, it may have gone higher. I don't know what it was going to do at this point, but that's a logical exit. So for me, taking an aggressive short here, as I've said, the reason I took that half stake is it's fairly aggressive, and because I don't have an overall long-term bearish view. I'm trading against the trend. Even though we're at the resistance, I'm still trading against the trend here. There isn't a downward trend forming yet, not even over the medium term, let alone over the long term. So that's my view. So what's my current view? So my current view looking at this is, at the moment we've done about a 50% retracement of this small downward move. You can see just over a 50%, almost got the 61.8. Now, before you start getting all excited, do I use fibs? Not really. I do it now and again just to give you a vision of where I am. Fibs aren't my thing. It doesn't mean they don't work, but they're not my thing. So yeah, we've had just over a 50% move back up, retested this area here. So for me at the moment, the market is quite choppy. We're sat in between, we're crisscrossing the 50. So at the moment, I'm fairly neutral. I've had two good trades on the S&P. The price action is fairly neutral. So for me, I'm not really going to be doing anything. So let's future pace it. Let's have a look and see what we could be looking at. Would I consider trades long above this level? The answer for me is no, simply because there's not enough room. So the only way I would consider any trades in this area here is a possible short back up here. So a retest of these highs. So for me, that the move is done enough that over the short term, I could still consider a short in this area here. Where we are here, I wouldn't consider a short with the trend until we got below MS2. So it'd be a retest of this level, possibly a bounce and then a move down. And then that would be relative to what is going on a weekly chart. So again, I'd have to be a little bit wary. So looking at the weekly chart, well, would I consider a short there? Well, actually, by that point, we see the weekly 50 move up a little bit. For me, unless price gets itself back up here for a reversal, breaks, shows me that it wants to go higher and then moving long. And for me, unless it really gets below this level here, because although there's a little bit of support there, the higher time frame moving averages, I would want price to come down. Probably retest and then go. That would be the ideal one, and then be trading with the short-term trend down or with the trend here. But the fact that we've had this move here, some of our guys did take an aggressive reversal here. Our intraday traders actually had a really good move on the inside of it. But for me at the moment, this space doesn't really offer a lot. Essentially, my thoughts on the Dow are the same, is that we'd need to be above this area here. We need to be way above this area, in fact, above this area here, break that, prove that price wants to go higher before considering longs. Possible reversal, that's about the only trade that I would consider, the same as the S&P. And here, I would want to be below these levels, creating new lows to consider trades in that direction. Okay, if we go and have a look at the DAX is in a different position to the S&P and the Dow. There is a little bit more clean air here. It's had a bigger move down. You can see we've got the prior highs up here. So we've got the clear prior highs. Now, before you start going, I don't think that's a resistance level, Ali. That's a target level for me on this trade. So that is a profit target there. That is not what I'm considering to be a strong resistance. I wouldn't consider taking a reversal here. The reversal would have to be up at the prior high. Now, if we go down to the daily chart here and have a look at the trade. So the DAX is running a little bit of a pattern. It's pulled back to the 50, new high, pull back again, and I got in on this level here, and again, so you can see there's the DAX trade in the middle there. Now, if we look at the stop, I've already had one little stop move. So initially, I got in the trade around this level here. It's actually around there. So I got in the trade around this level here, with my stop below the lows that came in and tested the 50 and tested that little trend line just there. Now we've moved up and we've done over half of the move to the prior highs. So I've actually moved my stop up, and I'm just tucking my stop underneath the 50 moving average at the moment. You can see the stop's at 11,949, and there's the DAX 50 daily there at 950. So my stop is just tucked under the daily 50. I will move my stop to break even if we get up and retest the highs of the pullback, which are also these small little highs just here. And the aim is to then run the trade up to this level here. So that's DAX and the Dow. Quick look at gold. Look at gold, not really going anywhere. You got lower You've got lower highs here on the daily, but you've not really got clear lower lows. And if we go to the weekly gives it away. It's very choppy here, just sitting around it. It's 50 moving average, so no trading opportunities for us there. Silver, a lot of our swing traders had a nice short on silver. You can see that we've got downward momentum. We've got lows down at this level here. We've actually got a little bit of a zone of support just here. Nice downward momentum. If I go to the daily chart just here, you can see that silver has had a nice move. It's quite choppy if you look at it on the daily here. So a lot of chop on each of these candles. You can see movements up, a lot of indecision, a lot of wick on those candles. But a lot of our swing traders had a move here where they were short in and around this area here and have taken that down to the low. Some will have run it down to the pivot, and there could be a few of the guys that are wanting to take it a little bit further will have moved the stop now, and we're looking to run it down either to MS3 just before we get into this support zone down here. If I go and look at euro, so we're going to look at euro US dollar. So here we are on a daily, and again we're still, although we're slowly moving down, we're not really trending down here. Price is just slipping downwards. That trend line's a bit, you could take it or leave it really. I'm not a big trend line person. I've got that in there. For me, you can see, look, we're running below, we're hugging the weekly 21 at the moment. If I delete that trend line, you can see fairly choppy, and actually really the price action has not moved a huge amount since September. If you actually look at it, we're moving in and out, very indecisive. You can see there. We've got the European elections coming up. I don't think we're going to see anything huge on euro US dollar at the moment. It would be nice if it could start moving a little bit more like it did here, a little bit more like it did here, because that will have a direct impact on other currency movements. So very choppy here. Now, pound against the US dollar. So looking at the weekly chart here, we're getting into this resistance zone. Now, it's not hugely strong. You can see, look, we hit that level there. We've hit it there. As I said, if it went any lower and then retraced, I wouldn't want to be considering a short, because we would be too close to this area where price has consolidated a bit. If we get below these levels, then there could be a shorting opportunity. So if we clearly get below these levels down here, then there could be a shorting opportunity down to these lows here. For me, any long trades, the only thing I would consider was when long with the trend would be above these highs, or possible intraday reversal up at those highs. So now let's have a quick look at Swiss franc yen, because this is the last position I'm in here. Now this is a fairly aggressive reversal that met our what's called our MPI criteria here. So a lot of our swing traders are long at the moment. Now again, just because the price action has gone sideways like this, I am not looking to run this trade all the way up here. My target is actually the mid pivot just here. So if I go down to the daily, you can see that. So the target for me is up here, but I've got moving averages where I'll be moving stops relative to that. So you can see that the 50 moving average, when we got into the trade down here, 50 moving average was above the mid pivot. So for me, what I'm looking at is a stop move of halfway. So you can currently see that the stop is actually below. I'll just move this across. So the stop is actually below these lows. So for me, I'm looking for a test of the 21, which we almost got this morning. Test of the 21, and my stop will come up halfway. And then if we reach the 50, even if the 50 drops down, if we reach the 50, then I'll be moving my stop up to the entry based on the criteria that we run. Good, so I'm going to call it a day there. We do have quite a few possible trades across the board, so we are seeing things pick up at the moment. Now, just because we've got a large list of possible trades, you can see them all there on the particular swing strategies that I trade, doesn't mean they're all going to set up. So again, this will be about a filtering process to see if a couple of these come through, but I will keep you posted. Now I will aim, I've been saying this a lot, but I will aim to get another video out to you, at least another market commentary out to you this time next week. So I hope you found that useful, just to see a little bit more about what we're doing. Trade safe, manage your risk, and I'll catch up with you again soon.